If the camping experience was to disappear tomorrow, how much would actually change in scouting today? Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk about this. This is important. Camping or outdoor activities is a huge thing in scouting. Gigantic. It's important. Believe me, we know it's important. I'm not advocating getting rid of it, but a lot of units might have run into that situation where they don't camp enough. And we'll ask some probing questions, and I hope you have a good answer to those. But one of the things I've always thought about, I thought, when scouts joined, they joined for a reason, okay? They joined for the adventure. They wanted to go outdoors. They wanted to do things. That's why they got involved. But if they're spending 40 weeks a year in boring meetings, that's not going to fulfill anything if you only camp once a year. So, we need to spend more time under the stars and less time in that meeting room. Do not be afraid of putting the out in scout, because that's what we are about. We're about an outdoor program. And if your scouting program is more about hiking and backpacking and camping and canoeing and all the outdoor activities, then clipboards and whiteboards and meeting rooms, okay? You got to think about that. How does that affect our youth? Now, to define camping, we have to ask our question, the big question, and that is, are we, as a outdoor activity-oriented organization, are we doing it enough? Are we going outdoors? Are we camping enough? And the big thing is that every month should have some kind of activity outdoors. I also recommend that the youth meetings don't always have to be indoors. If it's a beautiful evening or an afternoon when you're having your meeting, have it outside. It's totally fine. Almost every youth meeting can be done in an outdoor situation. There doesn't have to be a stage with a microphone and a spotlight and all that stuff. Go outdoors. Put the out in scout at that moment with the youth meetings. Plan it. Make sure that you're doing something outdoors every single month. Now, I know of troops that actually set the goal to go camping once a month. That's 12 camping trips a year. That's a lot of camping. They include their summer camp. So it's more 11, than 12. So that's the thing about camping. That's a worthy goal. Now, the percentage of your program should be outdoors. Okay. Now, outdoors could be a trip to some place like a church or something that you would stay in. It could be a campsite where they have cabins. It's not always a tent. It should be an adventure, okay? There's a lot of that going on throughout every unit in the nation. They need to think about all the different activities they can do. There's places on the east coast of the United States, and even on the west coast, where they have battleships, where the scout troop can actually stay inside the battleship overnight. So that's a great outing. So these are things that happen that really puts that out back into scout. Now, the quality of programs throughout the country varies from council to council. It really depends. Some councils do many opportunities at their camp. Some don't because of weather or where they are in the country. So it really varies from area to area what kind of camping experience you can do locally. Traveling is fine. There's all kinds of ways to go to these different things, but you need to increase that percentage of outings, and in so doing, making sure that all of your procedures and your equipment and everything's good, and the youth are actually involved in that directly. Now, sometimes there are first-time campers. Okay, it happens. Everybody has been a first-time camper, and getting those skills is not, you're not born with it. It is something that is learned, okay? So there's a great video on building that confidence and getting your new scouts involved in the camping cycle for your troop or crew. That's something that you need to think about. Check out the video. It'll talk more about the details of getting ready, getting them ready, up to speed with everybody else. Not everything can be an experience that's an outdoor experience. Not 11 or 12 times a year are you hanging off the side of a mountain, or in the wilderness or any of that stuff. It can vary. You have to move it around. You have to keep it fresh. As adult leaders, this is something we need to talk to our youth leadership that are actually deciding that schedule, right? We need to inform them, says, hey, there's this new thing going on over here. They may want to do that. They may want to go to a battle reenactment. They may want to go to a battleship. They may want to do things that are not necessarily camping, but you can combine those. I live in South Florida. I know of troops that actually go to the big pirate parade in St. Augustine, okay? And they do it every year. And they do the ghost tours and all that stuff. But they camp just outside of St. Augustine, and they come into the town for the day. These are huge things to see that fort and to see all the history and everything going on. Wonderful. So there's things like that throughout the entire country. In your area, there are things that they can do. Motivate your youth to put that on the calendar. That's a real critical thing. Now, there is a drift of going from outdoors to indoor only. So that does happen with a lot of troops, a lot of crew. It's important that we understand that there's things they need to do, they want to do. Scouting is not just a boring youth meeting, okay? That's the thing that gets you towards the goal of doing those adventures. That's the key. You have to think of it in that term. And with that, there's a lot of activities they need to do. And the calendar is difficult. When you're dealing with youth, it's important to keep this in mind. It's important to keep their schedule. They got school, they've got other things, different holidays and different things. So you have to work that calendar so that all these adventures are addressed. The meetings, the youth meetings, are preparing towards those activities. That's the key. Now, from an adult leadership perspective, a lot of the drift from being an outdoor program into an indoor only, a lot of that drift has to do with mechanics of the unit. There's not enough adult leaders to really facilitate transporting scouts to camp. There's not enough of the logistics there for the equipment or for the trained leaders to go with them. Those are things that kind of stump you back, and you gotta make sure that you do your training. Earn that train strip on your uniform every single meeting, okay? Make sure that you've earned to wear that train strip. Make sure you do your online training. Make sure you do your ILS or go to Woodbedge or get the training, okay? Your scouts need that. Your leaders need that so that they can be that trained leader to help facilitate the scouts and motivate them and mentor them and coach them towards achieving goals that they've set. Meanwhile, you have leaders who are caught up in the paperwork and logistics of the committee and all this other stuff. Let's try to focus into our cores of what we do as scouts, okay, as scout leaders. Let's think about that. Paperwork's going to get done. The fundraising that's needed to support it, that should be something that goes on all the time. Paperwork is all the time. All these things kind of roll forward all the time. It's that focus, that narrowed focus of the scout-facing leaders that needs to help those youth achieve the goal of doing outdoor activities, going away from their meeting place. That's an important thing. Even if it's the back porch of the church, okay, to have their youth meeting, that's great. It is important that these things happen. Now, I understand if you have a new unit, you have new leaders, and those new leaders may not have the outdoor experience. They may never have been a scout. So that's something that's trainable. We can train adults to be an outdoor leader. We have different courses that you can take. That's the important thing. Make sure that you're not holding the youth back by not having that training. Weather excuses. Oh my gosh, that happens. Weather happens. It's every day. Okay, in case you haven't, depends on where you are. There's a lot of different things, but most of the time, weekends are fine. Most of the days that they're going to go do things, there's really no issues. If it's raining, it's not a reason to cancel, unless it's flood warnings or something. But if it's just a light rain on one day, that's not the reason to cancel things. You can kind of move under the tarp. That's the thing about scouting. I've always said that scouts know what to do when it rains because they get wet. Oh my. So the scouts know what to do. So don't cancel because it's a rainy afternoon. It'll be a sunny day the next day. So that's the thing. Weather should only be considered in the safety issues. If there's a safety issue such as lightning or tornadoes or a hurricane or something like that, these are things that need to be considered. But that's on the safety end of it, not on just canceling on a rainy day. The cost of not camping enough. Now, when I say camping, that's all activities away from your meeting space. Okay, it could be sleepovers, it could be all kinds of things. So that's something to consider. Discomfort versus growth. That happens. It is amazing to me that my fondest memories were miserable campouts, okay? And I brought that up on the fireside chat that we do every month. And it was amazing. It was interesting to hear Matthew had a snow incident and stuff like that. It actually ended up on clips. But if you get a chance, you need to check in on that live meeting. But the ones that are most difficult, discomfort, wet, okay, a wet camp out, they can be big memories, big challenges for youth to really achieve on that. When I was a young person, if I got wet, that's not good, okay? If I was exposed to sunlight, I burned up. So there was some worries about that. Now I don't worry about it too much. I'm older and I've done more camping, so it's a different mindset, and I would never have that opportunity if I was cloistered away in some meeting room. And one of the hidden benefits that a lot of people overlook is unstructured time, what we call fellowship. That's something we do in scouting. It's where there's nobody teaching a course or trying to get everybody to tie a knot or something. It's unstructured. Sitting around a campfire or sitting around camp at summer camp, you could spend an hour, which is very valuable, with other scouts playing cards. These are the moments that come up that are so important to character development, to leadership, to understanding others. So critical. A lot of our young people, every single moment of their life is being programmed. Literally, every single thing, you're going to be transported here to there, la, 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 la. No wonder they're stuck on that phone. That's the thing. They need those opportunities where the phone is put away and they have to interact with their peers. It's something that they miss out if they don't have those opportunities. This is a very complex thing for a lot of scout leaders to kind of comprehend, but those situations where they're camping, in general, there's a possibility that they didn't prepare for something. Say, for instance, rain, okay? They didn't prepare ahead of time to have a plan B, okay? That's where your leadership comes involved. That's where that leadership starts stepping up. They won't have that opportunity if they're inside of a building in a conference room, okay? They're not going to have that. They have to be able to think on their feet. This is that opportunity. That's why camping is so important. And camping is a general term, but keep this in mind. They have to have that opportunity. If they don't get that opportunity, they'll never be able to learn all of the life lessons that we teach in scouting and how to put those into practice. Now, one of the things we talk about continuously is recruitment. The very important part about recruitment is retention. Scouts didn't join to be in a boring conference room every single week. That's something they did not sign on for. They wouldn't. They signed on for the adventure. They want to go camping. They want to go to camp where they can do the rifle range, or they can go to the archery range, or they can go swimming and sailing and all the high adventure things they joined for. If we do not fulfill that, our retention is going to go way down, because if you could keep every scout that you ever signed up, your troop, your pack would be enormous, right? Think about it. If you could keep every single one of them, they never want to leave. They want to stay in that pack forever. They want to stay in that troop as long as they possibly can, that crew, that Sea Scout ship. If you could do that, that solves the problem with constantly recruiting. Because when you're constantly recruiting and they're leaving, it's just as a leaky bucket. Another video. Hey, before we go any further, I want to personally invite you to come to the Campfire Chat. This is a live meeting. It happens on the first Sunday of each month, and it starts at 9 p.m. That's Eastern Time. And of course, I want to personally thank all of the members of the Patreon. They help support what we do here. In addition to that, we also have memberships available right here on this channel. Hit the join button and find out more information. There's a lot of nice little perks that you get for being a member and helping support what we do here. And one of those things is being recognized on our channel. So here's the list of all of the supporters of the channel. Now here's a reality check. If your parents or your chartered organization watched your unit for, say, 2 or 3 weeks, would they come to the conclusion that you're an outdoor activities group? If they would have a problem discerning that, then you need to think about including more outdoor activities. Now think about the largest block of time that you spend in a calendar year doing outdoor camping. For most troops, it would be summer camp. For most packs, it would be day camp. So those are things that are helped inside and out. Day camp is, and so is, of course, summer camp. Summer camp, you often eat in the dining hall. You often do activities in different areas. But you do swimming, and you have the outdoor rifle range and so on. So there's a lot of things that are done outdoors, but it's a mixture, okay? But think about that. If that's true for packs and that's true for troops, what about crew? If you're an adventure crew, what's your outdoor thing? Do you go to summer camp? You can. It's totally fine. If you're in a Sea Scout, if you're on a ship, do you go sailing for a week? That might be their big thing for every year. So there's a lot of things to think about as far as the outdoor program. All those adventures need to add up to a lot of days. That's the important bit. Now here's a scary thought. When's the last time rain didn't cancel your camping trip? If you see my meeting, it's changing that paradigm. Rain is okay. If there's flooding, no. if there's a tornado, no. If there's a hurricane, no. Okay. If there's a windstorm or other than just rain, a rainy weekend and everybody gets wet, that's okay. Okay. It's uncomfortable, but it's okay. Here's another big one. Is our staff, our leadership in the unit, are they trained to do outdoors? And if they're not trained, maybe they're avoiding the camping, okay? Or they just don't like doing camping. That's okay. There are people in your unit that don't want to go camping. They've had bad experiences or no experience in camping. They should be behind the scenes, okay? The youth want to do these adventures, so they need scout leaders that have gone through the training, that have actually the desire to go do these things. For a new parent that's now an adult scout-facing leader, this can be a daunting thing, especially if they've never camped before. Going through that training is essential. Then they would have camped. What's important is that there's a lot of little things. So I did do a video to help adult leaders deal with camping, okay? Because it's a little bit different. So check it out. It talks a little bit more about adult leaders and camping. Now there are some barriers to doing an outdoor activity. Sometimes a troop may not have the funds or the leadership to do those activities. So it's important that we focus on the structure of that unit. Make sure that there's an adult leadership core that can go camping, that have been trained. That's a critical thing. That's kind of the horse before the cart. Okay, you got to have that. That's got to be there. In order to have those adventure. And the thing that really puts that together is that the unit has to have leadership that's available. Sometimes they can't spend a week at summer camp. They just can't. And you need at least 2 to go to summer camp. That's the thing. Otherwise, that youth are going to arrive there family-wise, not as a unit, and be provo, okay, if they don't have enough. And that costs a little more because there's people that are paid to be the 2D leadership at summer camp, okay? So it's a different world, so you have to have that in mind. Some people can't spend an entire week of their vacation time donated to the Scouts. They don't have it. There's a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck, and they can't do that. If they're not working, they're not getting paid. That's that's just the way they have their economics. So we have to understand that. I'm not advocating that we pay adult or a volunteer leader to take a week and do that. What I'm saying is that we have to keep that in mind. That's a critical thing. There's a lot of adult leaders that will freely give up an entire week that they could spend with their family on a cruise. They'll give that up to go to summer camp. And parents need to be aware of that. They need to be grateful for that. That's a huge commitment. It's a huge thing they donate. So as a unit, we have to have that infrastructure in order to do any of the outdoor stuff. So we need to put the horse before the cart and make sure that our leadership is good and ready for that type of activity. Now, from an adult leader standpoint, that can be a big burden to the emotional standpoint. I know of several scoutmasters that donated a week of their own vacation time to take off of work and be able to work for the scouts, basically, donating that time to lead a troop at summer camp. I know a lot of them that have done that. It's important to recognize that is a strain on their family. That's vacation time that they've worked hard to earn. Then they donate it to the scouts. Well, a lot of times the scoutmasters, lovely lady at home does not approve. Okay, so there could be some turmoil there. Okay, especially if it's expected every single year. That could be really, really burdensome. So to a outdoor program, small activities start off slow, but you need to have small activities, adventures. An overnighter is a good example. If you're with a pack, overnighters are the only thing they do. They don't do the 2-day camping thing. The second day might be family camping. That's the thing about Cub Scouts versus a troop. Troop might take a whole weekend. If it's a special weekend where the Scouts are not at public school for that Friday or that following Monday, they could take a 3 or a 4 day, depending on the holiday. They might have a segment of time there. So it might be in a winter break or a summer break or what have you. That's typically the scheduling for that. But keeping in mind, keep them small. Overnighters are fine. If you have 5 overnighters a week long at camp and then you do several campouts in a year, that's a lot of camping. That's a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of adventures that you can go on. So keep that part alive. The mindset can change where camping or adventures can be the norm versus all the youth meetings and all the stuff indoors. That's where you're getting more into the activities of scouting, and it's going to make scouting even more valuable to the youth that are participating. It's going to be incredible if you can put more scouting into that camp. Okay, now I reversed it there, but that you get my meaning. You need to be thinking outside the box as an adult leader. Think about it. If you can get that going, it's a great thing. Now, a scout troop can do micro adventures. For instance, instead of having the youth meeting at your charter, you could say, well, for that one night, the charter needs to use the facilities for something, so we're going to be meeting at the local putt-putt golf. That's perfectly fine to have that as a youth meeting. You have the putt-putt golf as the activity, but then you could talk about your next big adventure while you're at these micro adventures. That's the nice thing. You can build up to what you want to do. Now, redefining your outdoor schedule is important. It's not distance, okay? It is being active outdoors, whether it be a camp out, a camporee, all the different things that go on with your council in your area. There's a lot of different things you can be doing. That's the wonderful thing. So redefining that locally. You don't have to go hundreds of miles away and rent a bus and do all that stuff. That's a big adventure, maybe once a year, but all of it should be local, nearby, within your council. That's the key. Your council has a campsite. It's probably available most of the time you want to take the troop camping. Think about all the facilities they have. That's a major thing. Now here's some food for thought. Ask yourself, is scouting, your scouting unit, is it more of a scouting unit that occasionally goes outdoors, that occasionally does camping, or is it something that is an indoors only kind of thing? This is something to seriously think about. We need to put the out back into scouting, and you can do it. I know you can. So keep up that good hard work that you do all the time. It is so important for your scouts. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's actually a setting on your cell phone. And this is true with every cell phone that's been manufactured for a very long time. You've heard of airplane mode, but did you know that every single phone has an camping mode? It does. It actually does. And a lot of scouts have never used it. So if you're curious, check out the video right there. Till next time, I'll see you on the trail.